Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the International Wildcard Qualifier, coming to you live from our Gamescom Cologne. I was about to say our studios in Cologne, Germany, but we're in Gamescom. I'm just so used to doing that these days. It is time for Game 2 of our round robin, and it is between Oceania's Legacy Esports against the Commonwealth of Independent States Russian Force. So now, before we get things started, let's hear from Dayruin and the rest of the Russian force as they weigh in on their journey to Cologne and how they're keeping their eyes on the big stage in Seoul.
На этой неделе моя команда будет участвовать на Gamescom, на International Wildcard, чтобы занять слот на мировых финалах.
The wildcard for the World Finals. Who won that goes to Korea. Like the dream, I don't know, too many emotions.
I am really grateful that I came here like a substitute, but of course I want to win.
We are qualified through Star Ladder. We played against Virtus Pro. I played with that team before the Season 2 Star Ladder. Then I got kicked out from the team, and these guys picked me up in the final game against my old team. That was a great moment to beat them.
We are not in the Worlds, we're just in Wildcard. But probably we have a good chances to get to the Worlds.
The personal skill of players is enough to make the decent performance.
Успех — это как минимум, если я прохожу на финал мира. Все остальное, я считаю, что я и так заслужил.
I want to play against the Koreans and take their skills to myself. That's actually my dream.
If we get to the Worlds, we will probably confirm that at the moment we are better than Gambit.
Big words to finish with there.
Very big words. Better than Gambit if they can make it there. They've got a tough task ahead of them because they need to take down Legacy. You just had a great game one.
Absolutely. It was a fantastic start, and we did just saw Legacy turn things around dramatically against Dark Passage in the previous game. What do you make of their opening performance overall?
They definitely impressed me. I think the ridiculous amounts of aggression worked in their favor despite falling behind early on. The two players I just quickly want to highlight, Cardred and Cogmore, near 100% kill participation. His team had 20 kills. He was involved in 18 of them. And he was never under threat. You know, Dark Passage didn't jump on him, and he was always in the right position. The man that turned it around and that made the comeback possible was Ejim. He played Alistair. He went 1, 2, and 16. And he just had a very strong performance on the cow. That was their first pick as well, keep that in mind. So let's see if he does it again.
I also want to point out Minky Whale, or Milky Whale as Deficio just called him, but Minky Whale, fantastic overall, honestly. He was the man that was just zoning out the team. Every time they were pushing in towards his inhibitor turrets, he was just diving straight in on his own.
Yeah, I completely agree. The team just did very well. It reminded me of a very old Moscow 5, just ridiculous aggression, roaming all the time, invading in the jungle. Deficio did highlight and point out the lack of vision, though, from both squads. So I think we're going to be keeping an eye a little bit more on the vision game as they progress, because it is something that I think a lot of these teams can work on.
Well, let's see if there is a change in the guard in Russia, because their opponents in this matchup is a Russian Force, and they qualified as hard random back in July after running the gauntlet through the Star Ladder series. It was an absolute epic performance, and as you can see, they played a lot of games to reach this far, and eventually, of course, qualifying, beating Virtus Pro 3-2 in the finals. It was incredible stuff. Since then, of course, they have renamed. They are now Russian Force, and had to undergo some changes, a few changes in their roster. Symphony in the jungle, well, he was replaced after it was apparent that, well, he couldn't get a passport in time to get a visa. You kind of need the passport first. The replacement, of course, was one of the Russian Force original junglers. I'm going to butcher this name. I think it's Demeka. Demeka?
That's what I think it is,
too. We're going to go with that. Demeka. We could be Demetra. I'm not too sure whichever way. I'm sure some Russians out there will correct me. He's also competed with the team in previous Star Ladder events.
Yes. Now, unfortunately for Flashy and PvP Steos, their visas were flat out declined. Despite multiple attempts to get the players' visas, unfortunately nothing was able to work. So with that in mind, Russian Force have brought in Darker, formerly of Gambit, to play the mid lane, and AT remains in the top lane to play alongside the 3 remaining members of the Russian Force squad. We'll see how this new team can perform.
Yeah, let's get things started then and go through the team for you. Starting out in that top lane, you just saw him in the video. It was AT Remains giving the big words about, are we going to be better than Gambit? We'll have to see how he handles Minky Wales Aurelia after that last match.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for sure. In the jungle, it is Dumeka that we talked about. He is replacing Symphony. He has played with Russian Force earlier in the year in previous Star Ladder events, so he has some experience, especially with the duo lane, and he'll be in tune with their decision-making as the game progresses.
Well, Darker steps into the mid lane. It's not a position we've seen him in, playing at this level, and he does promise to bring us something out of the ordinary. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, those off-meta picks can surprise, they can do well, or they can cost you games. Now, Daeruin, in my opinion, is the full-time carry for Russian Force. During their Star Ladder qualifier, he really stepped up to help finish the series strong. He had great performances, and despite having a lot of deaths, he does tend to get a lot of the kills and is involved in a lot of the team fights.
And finally, we have alongside him Archie, who played throughout their Star Ladder journey alongside Daeruin, clocking in 168 assists along the way.
Yeah, and it was a great moment that when he said in the video feature beforehand, he was a Virtus Pro. He was kicked from the team, and then he managed to beat them in the finals to actually qualify for this tournament. I think if you look at the team of Russian Force, the unknown factor of those 3 new players might play into Russian Force's favor because you can't research and prepare for a team that doesn't really have a history or VODs to watch. So on the assumption that these guys bring a high individual ability to this match, they might be able to catch their opponents off guard Legacy, because if Russian Force can win the laning phase, that might lead to winning the game.
So let's check out the teams, of course, starting out on the blue side. It is Legacy Esports, and their lineup has not changed since the match they just played a moment ago. That means in the top lane, of course, it is Minky Whale, Carbon in the jungle, Choo-Choo's in the mid lane, Kadret as the AD carry, and E-Jim on support.
And on the red side, we have the Commonwealth of Independent States, Russian Force, with AT Remains in the top lane, Dumeka in the jungle. We do have Darker in the mid lane with Daeruin and Archie as the AD carry and supports.
So before we get into picks and bans, let's see how you guys have voted for this game. According to lolesports.com, it is a 50-50 split between the two teams. Of course, a couple of you may well be jumping on the Legacy hype train right now. We'll see how they perform against Russian Force.
Yeah, and this is going to be a similar situation. Russian Force now unknown. So on the side of Legacy, if you were in their shoes, I would think you ban champions that counter the composition you want to work towards. Maybe more so than directly targeting your opponents, because it is quite difficult with those two. I mean, Darker was a support player last time we seen him at this sort of competitive level. On the side of Russian Force, they can have some decision-making. Do they want to get rid of E-Jim's Alistair, take that off the table? Do they feel the Elise is ban-worthy against Carbon? It's something that we said coming into it he wanted to play. He got his hands on it once again.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out, of course. Do you ban what's just worked out so well in that previous matchup? Who knows? Cogmore was a big deal for Kadri. Maybe they're going to focus on towards that. Pick up Tristana early on. And you can see the Aussies right there getting ready for this matchup. Quite happy out the back. I just saw him out the back of the stage as well after that matchup. Pretty buoyed up about that victory. Yeah,
you can't blame them. It was a very strong performance. And just to remind everybody, we do have Legacy playing 2 games back-to-back. It is because it is a 3-team round robin. So they will be rotating themselves. Russian Force, for example, they will be playing another game after this. It is just the nature of how the round robin plays out. 6 games. If we have tiebreakers, we play more round robin matches. So
we're hoping games today is what we're saying.
It's not European teams, but we're in Europe, so maybe the curse can transfer to the players.
If everybody starts beating everybody else, that's when you'll start seeing panic on our faces, because
excitement, D-Man.
Very
excitement, D-Man.
Maybe it will be excitement. Who knows? Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Pick and ban underway. What do we expect? Let's see how this goes. And again, Legacy start things off as they did against Star Passage, banning out Tristana.
So this makes me wonder if Legacy are afraid of Tristana in the late game, because Legacy, they did just play for the late. They lost early, and they were just like, let's fine, we'll scale, and we'll win at the end. If they get their hands on Cogmore and Alistair again, those could be comfort picks. But take a look at Archie with his notebook, really, thinking about it, looking at it, and again, slow pick and ban phase from both of these wildcard teams.
Of course, these teams going through the round robin. It will be a best-of-5 final tomorrow between the top 2 teams. Of course, it's a lot of matches to play out before we get to that stage. Zillion banned out by Legacy. It was Choo-Choo's that picked it last time around, but clearly he expects Darker or Archie to pull that one out.
I don't really know what champions Dark is maining as a mid laner, of course, and he's, you know, he came out and made a very big claim saying he wants to pull out some weird and wonderful picks, which we're hoping for. But like we talked about, Legacy, if they want to run a different composition from game one, it obviously could be a variance in that pick and ban strategy. Maokai is still up and available, something we have to consider. Alistair, still up and available, something we have to consider. And Legacy, I feel, are talking about either of those. They banned out Lee Sin last time round, but that may have been a targeted ban to Crystal M from Dark Passage. This time round, they're banning the Alistair themselves, D-Man. They're not going to first pick it, but with Maokai available, maybe with Kog'Maw available, those have to be considerations in my mind.
Yeah, we'll see whether Russian Force use that last ban. It is available to the Maokai. Is it going to be a ban, or are they going to let Mickey Well get his hands on that one? It was such a big factor in last week's matches. We saw, of course, on the Friday, not a single game lost by Maokai. Is it going to get through? Yes, it will. Yasuo banned out, and Maokai looks like it will instantly get picked up.
I really don't know what to read into the picks and bans. Taking Yasuo off the table may mean Darker wants to run a mid laner that could be countered by Yasuo. I'm not really sure, but definitely a focus on the mid laners and so those primary picks. Yasuo casted in Italy, definitely more traditional bans than Tristana, Zillion, and Alistair if you're on the side of Legacy.
Oh, of course, it does seem that Kog'Maw and Nami are going to get selected as well. So that's going to be the first two picks for Russian Force. They are, again, just like Dark Passage, focusing on that bottom half. You can see us right now at the moment. We're going to continue because we can see it. It's all good.
On the side of Russian Force with the Kog'Maw and the Nami, that is a very powerful 2v2 lane. Kog'Maw is a bit of a pain in the butt to deal with in the laning phase whenever he's got his Bioarcane Barrage up and available, and Nami's going to have Sustain, is going to have the ability to hard CC, and the poke from her Tidecaller's Blessing on the E means that every time they combo the two together, they're just oppressively annoying in the duo lane. So if Legacy are going to be playing this matchup out, I wouldn't be surprised to see them going for a lane swap like they did previously, maybe just to try and disregard the strength of that Kog'Maw Nami.
Well, as you see, it is Rengar and Orianna locked in. Rengar banned by Dark Passage in the previous matchup. This time has got through. Carbon happy to take that one.
Safe picks. I mean, you've got a massively tanky front line. You've got the ability to team fight with Orianna and Maokai. You've got the ability to make picks with Rengar. Legacy have got a very well-rounded composition thus far. And
that's not out of the ordinary, Darker.
It's not, but that could be top lane. Like mid lane Lulu has fallen out of favor somewhat, and mid lane Lulu can poke and harass Maokai somewhat early on, thanks to the fact that she can turn him into a tree when he jumps in. You know, turn him into a munchkin and you can get away with the Glitterlance. So my gut is that that's going to be a top lane Lulu. If it is Lulu versus Orianna in the mid lane, Choo Choo's has a 21-minute 50 record to break for 300 CS, because that's what FLICKR did in a similar matchup. That's what Froggen did in a similar matchup, slightly slower. But I am expecting that to go top lane.
Well, of course, Elise was locked in. Daruin taking that one for Dumeka. We're going with Dumecha. I'm sure you guys on Twitter can.
I think Dumecha is probably the Russian way, but I'm going to go with Dumeka.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out for them. At the moment, I'm quite excited to see Quinn being hovered over by Kadred.
I think it'll be changed.
Kog'Maw was picked up. It will be Corki changed over, and Leona for Ejim.
Kadred played a lot of Corki during the Oceania qualifiers, and he had a very good Corki. His performance was strong. Since then, after some of the patches and changes, Corki's actually gained more power. But Legacy have definitely got a team fight composition built. They're going to be looking for Maokai plus Orianna plus Leona to be the strong initiation forces, and then relying on Rengar and Corki to clean house. They've got damage threats from multiple champions. They've got CC. I like the composition that Legacy's put together. Russian Force is more about protect the Kog'Maw. Nami for disengage. Lulu for disengage. I almost wonder if Russian Force was hoping to get an Orianna, because that would have made the protect the Kog'Maw much more powerful. Get the movement speed, get the command protect, and instead it's going to be even more disengage and zoning. Bouncing bobs from Ziggs, plus the minefield. So Russian Force, it's going to be damage focused for Ziggs and Kog'Maw, while the rest of the champions are there to keep those two alive, to deal with Legacy's engage and team fighting composition.
I'm not too sure what games Dark has been watching to think that Ziggs is out of the ordinary. Maybe he's still stuck in Season 3 because it is a very standard champion. Of course, we saw Alex6 trying to run it unsuccessfully last week. Didn't work out too well for him. But in this comp, I think it fits in. It works out, but they are very heavy magic damage, Russian Force.
Yeah, they are. They do have a lot of percentage damage from the Cogmore as well, especially once he gets that Blade of the Ruined King. So there is the potential to shred through the tree and the Leona. But for Russian Force, it is so dependent on them not getting caught by multi-man shockwaves or multi-man solar flares. The moment they do, all of Legacy can just run them down. They've got gap closers, they've got speed boosts. They need to be very careful not to group up and get caught by those group abilities.
Yeah, Legacy is definitely a team that's all going to pile in. Their team comp says it. We saw them do it in the last game. Question is, have the lineups managed to change your vote? Tweet hashtag LGC win or hashtag RF win for the Russian Force to @LOL Esports, and we'll see. The numbers have shifted from that 50-50 that they started out with.
I think they would. I mean, game 1 was very exciting.
Oh, the Aussies are on right now.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah, they're tweeting away.
We'll see how that vote plays out. But again, I think Russian Force do have fairly strong lanes. Lulu's not as much of a bully as earlier on. And as long as Darker maybe gets some assistance from Demeka, I think he can do well against Choo Choos, but he needs a little bit of help. Oriana is also a strong laner herself. So laning phase, very, very important for Russian Force. If they fall behind and then they just get engaged upon over and over and over, they're going to get strangled out of this game completely.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen, as we get underway for game 2, the Russian Force starting out this time around as that red team moving on Force as a 4 down towards Legacy's jungle. Of course, we saw a reversal on the red buff last time around. Kadrit is holding position. Got to be careful he doesn't get caught out by the Aqua Prison early on. The Nami bubble that Archie could toss out there. That's potentially something that could lock him up. He can't see them just yet. If he goes for it, yeah, just out of range. I think they're going to go towards the bush rather than where he is at the moment. That's like the
Condra's going to
obvious
see them very
position.
clearly.
Yeah, he's going to see it in there. We're not going to see anything crazy coming out from him. They will clear out the ward, and that gives Russian Force full advantage as they move in. You can see on the opposite side, of course, the Carbon is already at that Ren buff. He's going to ward out and try and start off up there.
Going to end up being just a trade of buffs, and for the time being, it doesn't look like Kadrit or Ejim are going for a lane swap, although I may eat those words in a second, as it looks like Kadrit's moving around. I think if Kadrit and Ejim do commit to a 2v2, they need to be so wary and so careful in the opening levels. Once Ejim gets a full complement of his spell reel, level 3, and if he gets the right engage onto Archie, they can potentially come out ahead. But until level 3, until Ejim's able to manage to get the stun. Oh, take a look at this. Russian Force are back. This is going to be a big fight.
This is out of position completely. Carbon goes aggressive. Kadrit comes around the side. Minky Well is caught out. Has to flash away from that one. Well played, Russian Force. Moving around as a 5 on Force and catching Legacy off guard.
So they managed to get the flash out of Minky Whale. They have very deep vision in Legacy's jungle already. And it's going to be up to Demeka to punish Minky Whale for not having that summoner spell. We talked about the 2v2, didn't need to because it does look like Kadrit has moved himself into that top lane, and I do anticipate that is just to buy time for himself and Ejim to get levels when they can look to engage the immobile Cogmore and Nami in that regard. So we'll see how it plays out. We do have a very brief pause.
So just briefly looking at the map, it does appear that Russian Force are going to go for that 4-0. You can see, of course, just before we switched away there was Demeka and 80 Remains were heading towards that red buff. So they're going straight for that counter. And actually, it's not the counter, it's a full-on 3-buff steal they want to start off at. And I can't see Legacy actually being able to react to this one.
I don't think they can. They don't have the numbers advantage. We'll have to see how the teams play it out, what the decision will be. But on the side of Russian Force, a very strong level 1. They went for the deep vision. They actually denied the vision from Legacy by taking out that ward. And I think that's actually what led to the decision to peel backwards by going, we know we can run away, we know they're not going to see us, and allows them to make that decision.
Yeah, you can see it is a Russian Force currently with the pause. That is, it's the top lane. 80 Remains. That is got the pause on him at the moment, of course, playing Lulu. So just overall, it's quick start items, all pretty standard between them. It is a Spell Thieves up against the targets, Relic Shield, sorry. Standard stuff, honestly, between the two. But obviously that lane switch. We'll see how that works out, because last time around, Kadrid froze the lane out. This time, it doesn't look like he's going to be doing that. You can see he's already taken 6 CS, and it seems he's pushing heavily in towards that tower.
I feel like that's the case. The timing will be quite important for Legacy because Ejim's on a melee support. The moment somebody gets into that lane to defend or to clear, it means Ejim's ability to land auto attacks on the tower is greatly reduced. So we'll see, once we get back into the game, what the decision-making will be from Kadrid. But for the time being, early game advantage definitely in favor of the Russian force. Their level 1 strategy, while it didn't net them a kill, it did get a summon a spell from Minky Whale, and I'm going to guess they're going to get this third buff as well because they have the lane swap initiator, but we need to just see what happens when they actually get into the game.
Well, at the moment, there is a issue with the client. You can see it is still 80 remains. They did just briefly unpause it, but you can tell you straight up, they instantly paused it again. So they're just trying to figure out how to resolve it. I'm guessing it's a key rebind, which is what they were testing out there. You can see the referee alongside him just sorting out this issue as they do get happen. This does happen. We are live. It happens in the studio all the time as well, to be honest.
It does, but
not all the time. Let's give them some credit.
The other side of the coin is of course that the wildcard players, you know, they haven't played on this stage before.
Yes.
So the problems that these guys are now encountering, it is first time. We're also changing. I know for a fact that, for example, the Russian players, when they've sat down, 4 or 5 of them actually play the game in the English client, believe it or not. But all 5 of them do run Windows in obviously native Russian. So probably the adjustment, the swing, you never know what's just caused a bit of a config error or something along those lines. But yeah, very interestingly, I was just reading some of the QA guys' notes, and 4 or 5 players. I actually believe 80 Remains is the only one that plays in Russian, and the rest, I believe, playing in English.
Well, at least there's full screen, as opposed to some of the Russians. I do remember Gambit, of course, still only playing the little 800 by 600 box window. Dyrus used to do it for a long time.
It's what you
used to
get
play
used to.
locked into the camera as well, if anyone remembers that far back, until he finally got his upgraded software and hardware when he moved into TSM.
Figured out, well, I think just somebody taught him how to push the button, personally. But yes, the hardware definitely plays into account as well.
He used to be on the old little CRT monitor. I saw his old setup.
And he didn't know which button was to unlock the camera. But regardless, Russian force are the team that have to cause the, I don't even want to say upset really, but they're the team with the uphill battle. You know, two substitutes that's not played together. You've got Dumeka that has played alongside Dayruin and Archie, but he hasn't played with the team competitively for about 2.5, 3 months. So it has been a little while. And we'll see if they can take down Legacy, who were victorious in game 1. Not resounding fashion, but they bounced back. They dug deep, played for the late game, and worked out.
Well, we're just going to see whether the rebind works. It does appear to have, although we've had another pause. Just trying to wait and see who it is. You can see the Australians there. Worked out well for them. Carbon's gone on Rengar this time around. Choo-choos. This time around going on Orianna. Pulled out Zillion in the previous match, and Kadrid going huge in that last matchup.
So Kadrid is the player that I'm going to keep my eyes on in this game. Because when I watched him play Corki last, one of the biggest things that I did notice is he does Valkyrie in aggressively for kills. And while it can work out, it can also cost quite excessively. And you know, when you're playing Cogmore, you have to be much more aware of your positioning. You have to be much more focused on how you enter and exit team fights.
I would say, though, if he's got a Maokai jumping in, a Rengar jumping in,
oh, yeah,
Leona going in,
that'll help.
Just follow in, because the shockwave's going to go off
just
on
not
someone.
First. Just not first.
Not go in first. Just
yes.
Not go in first. That's all we're asking. Let's see how this works out. We are back into the game. So, game 2 underway once again. Legacy as the blue team up against the Russian forces on the red team, and of course this is the International Wildcard Tournament. It is a round-robin stage to begin with, 6 matches. We've just seen one already play out. Legacy took down the Turkish team Dark Passage in a very, very successful first match for them, despite being 5,000 gold behind. Right now, Minky Whale is in desperate trouble in this bottom lane because he's in danger of being dived 4-on-1.
I think they're going to go for it. You can see Kadrid pushing top lane, but you've got Dumeka hanging out on level 2. We'll see if they can land the CC. Minkyuel, 4v1.
Remember, he's got no flash. Now he's caught in the Aqua Prison. He's in all sorts of trouble. No way out of this one. Archie, though, took a lot of damage, and a flash comes out from AT Remains. He would have been taken down, but the first blood, nonetheless, was picked up by Demeka.
So very good to at least get some summoner spells off of AT Remains, as well as Daeru, the flash and the summoner heal. But from the level 1 play, from the departure from Legacy's jungle and the return to Russian Force's own jungle, they're able to get the flash from Minkyuel and successfully take the tower dive. Minkyuel did instantly teleport down, and look at the damage he's taken. He's now been dropped very, very low. In the top lane, they're diving AT Remains.
They're going to dive on towards him. Remember, he has used his flash and teleport as well. Not quite as successful a trade this time around. It was Counter actually took a couple of too many tower hits at the start trading with EGM. It does force him a little bit away with this big minion wave.
Yeah, but look at the damage that the tower's already taken. It's down to below half the hit points. I'm actually surprised to see EGM is able to zone AT Remains, but that is purely because AT Remains does not have his flash. So he's going to be cheeky and leech some of that experience from out of threat range. But the tower is definitely being focused now by Cardred and EGM. A different strategy from previously in the day.
Here comes Rengar, Carbon sneaking in. Meanwhile, Darker in trouble in that mid lane. Choo-Choo's having a really good trade. Manages to put the minefield down, has to burn the flash. Ignite goes down. Choo-Choo's forced the attack ball in. He's got him. The Ignite will run, and Choo-Choo's straight up 1v1s.
Darker popped the heal before the Ignite was even down, and Choo-Choo's completely outplaying Darker. The reply kill from Legacy is compounded by the fact that they managed to secure a tower as well, and AT Remains has been completely zoned away. Despite the fact that Minkyuel was poked down very low once he teleported in, he's been able to sustain back up thanks to his passive and his potions, and he's got himself a CS advantage. It is very small at the moment, but we'll keep our eyes on if it keeps extending, because Legacy, they're continuing the push.
Yeah, the 3v2 push is continuing on. I'm not too sure they're going to get too much down on this tower. They've got to be careful if Carbon gets that stun built up, which he has now. If they don't step out a little too far, they will back away. So first tower goes to Legacy. Successful push from them, and a different change from the previous matchup. Minkyuel, meanwhile, down in this bottom lane, keeping up in levels, but still fighting hard to keep this tower alive. Hasn't got his flash available yet. Could quickly twist and advance onto someone again. Caught out by that Aqua Prison, and Daeru puts a good trade of damage back on towards him.
Thanks to the tower hits, though, I would dare say that trade ends up becoming even. And you can see that Cardred at level 4, along with EGM at level 3 having a phage completed, they're going to be a little more confident to pick a fight with Daeru and Archie. I still think, as long as Daeru and Archie do not get caught out by Zenith Blades, they should be able to punish Legacy's duo lane until level 6. The moment that Solar Flare is available, Daeru's going to be so careful, because if he does get caught by ACC, his day will be ruined, and he's just going to get completely popped down. Kog'Maw, horrendously immobile, and needs to be very cautious.
I'll keep my eye on this mid lane. Darker yet to hit level 6, while Choo-Choo's has that shockwave ready and waiting to go. Already burnt out his heal, of course. Ignite was used. Carbon kind of sneak around. Carbon himself actually fell behind. He's only just hit level 4, as opposed to Demeka, who is 5 and very close to 6, but it's a Dragon Star from Legacy, and honestly, Russian Force are nowhere near this one.
Yeah, punishing the fact that Daeru recalled and that he showed in the top lane. So, numbers advantage is always going to be in favor of Legacy. So a fairly safe Dragon, despite the fact that Archie's poking. Big Inferno Bomb, that's going to hurt.
Smite gets in there, they're going to come around the side. Exhausto, Archie in trouble, tries to get out of this one. Carbon tries to front it on towards him. Now Demeka turns it around, he can get up towards Carbon, he's going to get the damage down. No, Flash comes out, Heal gets in there, they turn it back around. Shockwave flashed out up by Darker as Choo-Choo's joins the fight. And it was a 1-for-0 trade to Legacy and the Dragon. Everything going their way.
Very well played. Russian Force simply did not have the pressure with them. Despite the fact that Mega Inferno Bomb was coming down, Cardred and EGM engaged on Archie and really punished. They managed to make the kill count, and it's just, there's not enough support here. That is a 3v1 as a level 4 Nami. And yes, Demeka does get Carbon low, but again, he's still in what is a 2v1, 3v1. As the rest of Russian Force arrives, it's already too late. A lot of summoner spells have been blown, and their HP bars are simply too low, so they're forced to retreat.
So both summoners now down on Darker, while Choo-Choo's has that Ignite back off cooldown. Shockwave will be back shortly as well. So Darker in real problems in this mid lane already. Minkyuel in the top lane, he's had a bit of an exchange with Daeru, it seems. in this top half. Of course, the Australian fans out there voting strong and still continuing as everybody else gets on the Legacy hype train. 77% for them right now. Of course, it was 50-50 early on. 80 remains burned down on the hit points as Kadred punishes him. And this is all going Legacy's way right now. Blue buff given to Choo-Choo's.
We'll see what Choo-Choo's can do with it. He was already 1v1ing Darker without the blue buff. And we said in order for Darker to have a good time in that lane, he needed the support of Jamaica.
Bot lane, 80 remains already backing off from this one.
Top lane as well.
Making his way down. They're going to go 2v1 on Minky Well this time around. That ultimate not enough, and he will go down. So they've managed to successfully punish Minky Well. The question is, will 80 remains be punished back?
So 80 remains was forced to use wild growth, so he did manage to survive, but Ejim is being forced away, and he needs to be very, very careful. Card's low on mana. I don't think they can afford a tower dive. They're waiting for Carbon.
Oh.
Here comes the kitty cat. We'll see if he can make them purr.
Not so stealthy when you run past the tower, but they're going to see him anyway. He's going to be able to pounce in there. Oh, good anyway. Locking on towards him. In he comes, gets the stun down, and Kadred will pick himself up an easy kill.
Yeah, 80 remains running away from the tower meant that he was just easier to single out. Another kill on the board for Legacy. And despite the fact that there's been multiple tower dives on Minky Well, he is still ahead in CS in comparison to 80 remains. So still keeping himself relevant, still keeping himself on the board. This is a 3v3 for the time being. 80 remains is making his way to the blue buff steal, and we'll see if the fight can break out.
Oh, instead, top lane, Dayrune taken very, very low by Minky Whale. Meanwhile, bottom tower does get taken down. Kadrid works that one down. Blue buff looks like it will be secured by the Russian force, but that's opening up this mid. Look at this.
Dark is in trouble.
Dark is in trouble, gets pounced on, gets locked up. Zenithblade goes in towards him. He's in trouble. Choo-Choo's will finish this one off. He gets himself the kill. Will they try and chase on towards Legacy? It would be suicide.
The scariest thing about falling behind Legacy's team comp is the amount of initiation power that is sitting with the Australians. They have got engage on 4 of their 5 champions. The ability to set up plays. And because, of course, Carbon can engage stealth, it makes the Orianna Rengo wombo combo even more powerful. Russian Force need to have much more wards on the map if they want to avoid being jumped on further, because they're falling very far behind.
Yeah, there's a giant gap building in that mid lane. 93 to 63 CS. 2 kills to the good as well for Choo-Choo's. Giant golfing class, it seems, between these 2 mid lanes. The problem is, I don't really see any way back right now for them. It's a dire start for Russian forces. Legacy, again, going aggressive. Ejim thought about it there, but Dumeka shows himself around the side, and a 3-man defensive from Russian forces forces them back.
So for the Russian force, they need to rely on Darker's range and bombs to contain Legacy, keep them on the back foot. They can also look to counter-engage. Legacy, look, we know they're going to tower dive. We know they're going to invade your jungle. So if Russian force can anticipate that, get some vision down, and then punish Legacy when they go in by surprising them, by landing a bubble, by landing a tidal wave, that can allow Russian force to get themselves into the game. But they need to punish Legacy and outplay them once Legacy engages. If they don't do that, obviously Legacy's just going to continue getting stronger, continue getting advantages, and Kadrid, I think he was actually looking for a fight with there, and I think he did.
He fancied that. He'd got himself the Sheen phase now, so he's quite possible he could have got in there. But look at the vision that's already starting to build up. The Legacy are pulling down. The ward's already going aggressive. That top lane starting to scout out ahead of the river. The mid lane taking all of the punishment again. Despite the fact you've got a Ziggs, he can't wave clear without items, and right now he is hurting badly. He fancied it, Kadrid, and now he's going to get it. Dayrune gets some poke on towards him. Archie comes to save the day, but they've got to be careful. Ejim focusing on Dumeka. Meanwhile, in the river, Choo-Choo's is chasing up towards the top lane pairing as well. He's going to be able to get around the side there. Shockwave is available. He should just come around. Gets himself... Oh, if he'd only just gone around the side. Kadrid does Aqua Prison in towards him. There's the Shockwave. Pulls it on towards him. Dayrune goes down. They could get themselves a second. Archie's in all sorts of trouble. Flashes away. Isn't it enough? No! He just about escapes. But that was, again, another trade in favor of Legacy.
Very, very well played by Kadrid and Choo-Choo's. Choo-Choo's getting the 2-man Shockwave, preventing Dayrune from escaping, and just not having a summoner spell available. That flash means Kog'Maw gets shut down. So Legacy extend their gold lead. They should grab themselves this mid tower, and if Dumeka sticks around, Choo-Choo's maybe looking to squash another spider. He's hanging out around the Wraith camp, but Russian Force has got some support moving down the lane.
Well, Russian forces will force them away for now, but that's another turret down. All three outers now burned out, and Legacy starting to assert their dominance. Dimeka in trouble, he's going to get caught out. Actually, Cocoon goes down, tries to turn it back around. Meanwhile, Carbon jumps on Archie. Archie in all sorts of trouble, so much damage coming out from the jungler. Pounces back in, pounces back around, gets up to Dimeka. He will get picked up by the Mega Inferno Bomb. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Ejim in trouble as well. He's taking some punishment from Daeroon, but look at Choo Choo's just waiting around the side. Daeroon is going to continue to chase on this one, but Kadrid is now there. He's going to come around, just burn out the hit points. Daeroon just gets slaughtered straight down there. Choo Choo's is the one that picks that kill up. Now Minky Whale's in trouble. He's actually going to look to engage on this one. That was definitely a mistake. But while this is all happening, Choo Choo's is going to sneak around the side. Archie, you better start running. He's going to have to use the wild growth coming out from 80 remains. Choo Choo's will force them back, but it was the Russian force that came out ahead in that fight. Only just.
Unless my math is terrible, that was a 3-for-2 in favor of Russian Force. Choo Choo's, the fight went on so long that he's got his shockwave available, but my word, Legacy, even on 10% HP, still deciding to throw themselves back in there. Ejim dove in with the Zenith Blade. Minky Whale dove in with the Twisted Advance. And this is what we were talking about with the Russian Force. If they can anticipate and punish the aggressive plays, that's how they can pull themselves back into it. Daeroon was doing fairly well, but he simply lost that front line of Elise in terms of tankiness. And because Daeroon was so far forward, AT remains slow on the trigger, did not use wild growth, did not allow Kog'Maw to survive. And this is just over-aggression from Legacy that cost him another kill.
Well, Legacy at the moment are looking very strong in this game. Oh, Minky Whale caught out of position. 3 members of Russian Force all collapsing on towards him. That ultimate is not going to do a great deal. He'll go down. The question is, can they use anything from this? Can they try and counter it? Ejim was going to try and help him out there, but it's simply a lost cause. They're going to try and steal the blue buff. You can see Dead Carbon is down there on that blue buff. 18 remains just off at the side. He's going to try and interrupt this one, but it's going to be very hard to give him away. He's got the damage maybe. He can turn this one around, tries to force him off the blue. He did, but now he's got to be careful. Coming around the side is Ejim and Choo Choo's. Collapsing in towards him. That blue buff absolutely will go Legacy's way.
Yeah, so going to secure the buff. It did cost the ultimate, of course. And AT remains bullying Carbon away. But for the time being, Legacy have just overcommitted in some places, but they are doing a pretty good job of dictating the tempo of the game. We need to see how Russian Force plays this siege. Solar Flare's available. Look for the engage.
Shockwave lands onto towards Dimeka and Darker. That will put the pressure down. Kadrid tries to get his big bombs on towards, and while this is all happening, there is a minion wave hitting on towards that top lane, and Legacy, they're still pushing. Honestly, so for me, while Legacy had a great start, this aggressive playstyle is actually maybe playing into Russian Force's hands. They're not losing control and actually starting to gain a few things from it.
Russian Force have got a lot of tools to counter-attack and to disengage Legacy when they jump in there. Lulu's great at that. Elise can repel on the retreat. Ziggs bouncing bombs while running away, as well as a tidal wave. But for Russian Force, they need to do all of that while maintaining vision control. Look at the warding at 16 minutes. If you contrast that to game 1, there's a significant number of wards more in this matchup. But unfortunately for Russian Force, they've given up 4 kills to Choo Choo's. Athene's need to see Large Rod and Sorcerer's Shoes. The moment 2 or 3 members of Russian Force get hit by a shockwave, all the disengage in the world is not going to help you if you've lost 50-60% of your HP on multiple members.
Oh, and there he is, straight away onto Darker. Look at that damage. That was just a simple attack ball and dissonance, and that shredded half of his hit points off. Minky Whale sneaking around the side. They want to get the pressure on towards him. Defensive ball comes in there. He's caught on towards Daeroon. The AD carry's in trouble. The wave's going to be enough to save him. Shockwave was available. Now he gets pulled in. Daeroon is in trouble. He will go down. Archie will follow. Mega Inferno gets fired off, but Darker simply running attack defensive. Cannot keep him away. Carbon bounces on towards him. He goes down. It's a double for Choo Choo's, and that is a 3-for-0 for Legacy. It was only a matter of time before that came out. They were playing the aggressive game, and finally it worked out.
Non-stop in Russian Force's face. Legacy, I've still got about 15 seconds before Ziggs is up and available. Going to grab themselves an inner turret, and very good engage from Minky Whale. Despite the fact he's been caught out of position multiple times in the laning phase, he manages to deliver the ball for a good shockwave onto both Archie and Daeroon. You see the command protect on him, and it's just such a scary engage composition from Legacy. They keep jumping into Russian Force's face, and while you think Darker may have gotten away, Here comes Carbon from behind, pouncing on him, and just melting him under that turret.
Tower diving through, as we said. They're not afraid to do that one. So, Dragon potential as Russian Force moved in for that one, but it wasn't available to them. They do get ward coverage, so they managed to get a little bit of vision out there in towards the mid lane, but honestly, it's their own jungle they need to start looking at.
It's their own jungle they need to start looking at a while ago. And Russian Force actually had pretty good vision on the blue side of the jungle. Some of those wards have timed out. The only problem is, I just don't think they've got the cohesion that Demeka's been jumped on.
Demeka jumped on and stunned out. Look at the damage bursting straight down towards him. Has Carbon going to finish this one off? It seems he will, but now he's in trouble. Darker's going to focus on towards him. Oh, finally he gets the kill on towards him. He stealths away in the ultimate run, and he is scot-free.
Carbon manages to get out with his life. So he's
gone back in. I don't believe what he's doing. He's going to get on towards 80 Marines. Wild Growth is just about enough to keep 80 Remains alive, and Carbon still lives. The bounty bomb finally found him. It was only a matter of time, but while that was all happening, Jukes out the way of the Decathlon surprise, and wow, this game is certainly 100 mile an hour.
Legacy just do not want to stop. They continue jumping onto Russian Force over and over and over, but it is what their composition wants to do. So this is the 1v1. Despite the fact that Dayruin eats everything Choo Choo's puts down, that is a lot of damage from Dayruin. He had the Blade of the Ruin King, he had the Zeal completed, and he was able to melt it.
Oh! It's like a repeat. I'm sure we've seen that camera angle before. Demeka goes down once again at the red buff. This time around, it will be Kadra that will take that red buff away. 13-7 now for Legacy. They are miles ahead in goal. 4-0 in turrets. Russian Force at the moment simply helpless in their defense.
Russian Force need to do everything they can to keep Dayruin alive, which is going to be ridiculously difficult because of how many people can jump on him. Here comes Carbon. His ultimate's going to be up in a couple of seconds. We'll see if they're going to chase him down.
Yeah, 80 Remains going to pop that speed and leg it away, but that's, of course, a tower defended. Bottom one will not go down. They thought they may be able to just get a little bit of gold back from that one. Choo Choo gets himself blue buff for free as Carbon starts out the Dragon. The rest of Legacy closing in around them. They have full coverage, no wards from Russian Force, and no idea that it's happening.
So Russian Force do not want to be looking for fights. Russian Force want to be looking for skirmishes. They want 2v2s where... Oh, Demeka again.
Solar Flare and Demeka once again locked out. It's going to be Kadra that picks up that kill. They're going to pick themselves up the blue along the way. And 80 Remains, if he's not careful about getting down that lane, would also be collected as collateral damage.
So Demeka needs to understand it's not his jungle anymore. And he needed to understand that a few minutes ago. He's given up 3 kills in the space of 4 minutes in his own jungle. And Legacy have just turned into exterminators. They continually find the spider and continually punish him. Now they don't even have that good shockwave.
Big 3-man shockwave pulls them in, and just like that, 2 go down. It's a Yordle killing spree right now, and it's Dayruin that's going to try and run away. The Ignite is running. He should just about survive on this one. While that's all happening, Carbon wasn't even with them. There was no jungler. They didn't care. They just went straight balls to the wall on that one. They will get themselves the turret down. There's going to be Demeka once again locked up. Dayruin's the focus. He was going to get pounced on. Will go down. Carbon on towards him. Archie the final target. That's the ace for Legacy as they just stomp their way through the Russian Force.
They've got minions pulling up behind them, and the way Legacy plays, I wouldn't be surprised to see them going for a Nexus turret or 2. They're going to grab an inhibitor at 22 minutes. And actually, we hear the fallback ping. Dare I say for the first time today in the wildcard tournament, but very, very aggressive play from Legacy. In a 4v5, they win, and when Carbon comes to join the fight, they secure the inhibitor as well.
8-0-7 for Choo Choo's very strong mid lane performance. Darker coming into this one. Remember, he did play support. He's come in expecting to play. He said, I'm going to play something new, something innovative. Pulled out Ziggs. Ziggs does not work.
No, this was the end of that fight after Legacy had already initiated 4v5. And it's basically just a cleanup crew. The ability to engage, the ability to dive is very, very powerful. And they're just making it work for them. Legacy have got a 12,000 gold lead. Super minions in the mid lane. Let's see if they actually go for Baron. Not even sure they need it, but you know what? When you got that big of a lead, why not?
Well, they've swept the ward. They've started it off. There is 3 members of Russian Force in the top lane, but the rest of them are a long way away. Remember, there's Mega Inferno Bomb that can be tossed in from range. May well try a sneaky steal on that one. Carbon tanking out a lot of damage in this one. Ejim will come in to try and tank it. Baron shoves him away straight away, but it will go down. That's a simple pickup. And now Archie caught out. Solar Flare goes down, locks him up. Mickey Well going to try and find Dayruin. He's the target he wants to twist and advance on towards it. Archie will get picked off at the side, and Dayruin has been found out. Wild Growth not going to be enough to save him as Carbon manages to get his claws in towards him. Darker, no mana on him. And Cathian's surprised. Is it enough to take him down? Demeka tries to lock on towards him. Does not matter. It's a triple picked up for Cadred and Legacy again. Get themselves the ace and the game this time around. They're going to be 2-0 in the international wildcard. It is a fantastic start from the team from the Oceania region. They are just dominating the rest of the teams.
Nothing could stop them this game, and Russian Force did not look like a force to be feared. They were caught out of position, they were punished, and Legacy got in their faces over and over again. Well-deserved victory. Very little to say, really. I mean, despite the fact that level 1 went in Russian Force's favor, it was all downhill from there.
When a game finishes inside 25 minutes, it means only one thing. It was a very one-sided victory. 9-0-11 Choo-Choos dominated from the start in a straight-up 1v1 over Darker and made them count from then on in. And let's talk about also Minky Well. While he was focused heavily 4v1, 3v1, he still went 2-4-14.
Yep.
Just carried on about his business, knew what his job was. He was the man to jump on Dayruin, and he ruined his day.
Yeah, he really did. And despite the fact that he was focused, he kept up in CS. He still kept himself relevant with AT Remains. It actually just felt like AT Remains, Russian Force were outclassed individually. Every single one of their opposite numbers performed better. Darker struggled in the mid lane. AT Remains struggled in the top lane. Demeka got punished in his jungle once he lost control. It felt like he underestimated his opponents because they were in his jungle the whole time. And he got caught out 3 times in the space of 3 or 4 minutes, which should not happen at this level. If you know you're that far behind, if you know your opponent's going to be aggressive, don't go alone. You know, take someone with you. Walk with a teammate because you can't risk being alone.
And this, all after getting that 3 buff start as well. It was a fantastic start for them. Was not a very good end for them, that's for sure. So, that means it's 2-0 for Legacy. Dark Passage and Russian Force now have to play each other. Suddenly this game is very big because whoever goes 0-2, you're rooted at the bottom of the table in a very, very tricky position. It is a round robin, so they will play each other twice. That means, of course, we will see them on the stage once again, Russian Forces and, of course, Legacy. But overall, Legacy have just looked fantastic, and their aggressive style is catching a lot of these teams off guard.
The next 2 games that we see from Legacy are also going to be on the red side, so we need to see how their pick and ban strategy works out on that side, because in both of the games thus far, they've banned out Tristana. They then banned Nidalee and Lee Sin. Okay, not too bad, you don't want to deal with Nidalee top lane. But then they banned Zillion and Alistair, champions that they had just won with. And you're like, what's the thinking? Yeah, what's the thinking? So it's a very interesting pick ban phase, but you know what? It works for them. They smashed, they're 2-0, and they're looking strong to set themselves up for a potential final position. Because, of course, top 2 go to final. Whoever wins the best of 5 final tomorrow actually goes to Worlds 2014.
And starting off 2-0, honestly, is a long way to putting yourself in that final already.
Yes.
That is a very, very solid start for Legacy. Of course, Shox is standing by on stage with one of the winners from that match, so let's check in.
Thank you very much, D-Man. I'm joined here by Carbon from Legacy Esports, 2-0 up already. Just like a whirlwind you guys have started here, and so aggressive. Talk me through that play style that you guys have going on. You just like to fight.
Yeah, we do like to fight. OCE it's a little bit different to other regions. Solo queue, for the most part, is just fighting. A lot of trying to outplay your opponent as opposed to trying to win the actual game. I don't know. I describe it as more fun. But yeah, I don't know. We just really like to fight. We've been in Europe for a little bit, and we've been scrimming. We've been scrimming a fair bit. We scrimmed some LCS teams, and everyone here is so passive. It's like, I don't know. It's almost too easy. Like, I don't mean that they're bad. Because like we lost a lot of games. We scrimmed SK, to use that as an example. So against SK, like early game, we would do okay because they were so passive, they would just let us do whatever we wanted. But then like mid game, they just smashed us. So coming here, We were a little bit nervous that the same thing would happen, but so far it hasn't. So.
Yeah, tell me then what you picked up from those LCS teams coming in here, because in the first game versus Dark Passage, the early game didn't go that well for you guys, and they were winning those early game brawls, but you did manage to come back.
Yeah, so against Dark Passage, we knew we had to scale in comp. It was a mistake to fight early. I suppose that's just a little bit of bloodlust kicking in first game. But we knew we had the scaling comp, and so we thought all we need to do is wait it out. We had like Zillion, Cog, like Elise, so there was no way that we'd be able to kill Cogmore. So we knew if we waited long enough, Renekton would be useless, Jarvan would be useless, so yeah.
Yeah, you guys did great. You're 2-0 up already, so that means, you know, there's a big chance that you guys will be advancing. What does that mean for you guys to play here, to possibly advance, to possibly go to Worlds, to be on this great stage?
It's surreal, to be honest. You know, we've only been together for about 8 months now. We never thought we would actually beat Unity, who are the team back home who usually win everything. So we never thought we'd even be here. And when we flew over here, we were like, all right, we'll get some scrims. And we were like, we're just going to get smashed every game. And then we didn't. And we were like, hang on, maybe we can do this a little bit. So the whole experience has just been unreal, to be honest. I could not be happier right now. Cologne is a beautiful city. We saw the cathedral the other day. The stage here is amazing. I'm looking forward to tomorrow if we make it, hopefully. But yeah, all in all, very, very exciting.
Thank you very much, and the best of luck. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we continue the International Wildcard Tournament with Russian Force versus Dark Passage. Don't go anywhere.